Hello and welcome to our webinar today, Digitally Transform Your HR and Payroll Technology. This is a presentation created specifically for organizations in the public sector, education, and nonprofit industries. Today, our presentation will be given by experts in technology with hands-on experience in these fields, Matt Borkowski from Arctic IT and Sheri Hashimoto from Sparkrock. Before we begin, we'd like to remind you there are two handouts available for you to download. The first is an ebook that highlights the functionality of Sparkrock's solution for the public sector, and the other is a capability statement of Arctic IT, which highlights our depth of knowledge in implementing ERP solutions. As always, if you have a question, please feel free to submit it via the chat and questions box, and we can address them at the end of the presentation. With that, I'll turn the presentation over to Matt Borkowski.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I'm excited for the opportunity to be talking to you about some of the latest and greatest cloud-based HR and payroll technology that we are excited to be partnering with and implementing at Arctic IT. And so we're going to start off today with introducing you to Arctic IT and Sparkrock, and then really dive into the IT modernization idea behind why it's so important for organizations to be considering cloud-based solutions like this. And then we'll get a great dive into the platform behind Sparkrock 365 and the solution itself, including a sneak peek with Sheri Hashimoto. Very glad to have her along with us today to really highlight what is so great about the solution for our HR and payroll customers. And then we'll have some time at the end, open up for a Q&A for some questions. So with that, let's dive in. And when you're implementing technology, it's important for you to look deeper than just the technology itself. So often when we're taking a look at what we need, requirements for a solution, we get focused, rightly so, on the technology itself. But what is just as important is picking the right partner to help you with it. And we are confident that Arctic IT is the right partner to help you with your technology decisions. We have been focused in our almost 20-year history on Microsoft technology and really using best practices and our compliance-minded folks to help implement the solutions in the best way possible for our customers. And that includes, this day and age, having a security-first approach to any of the offerings that we deliver. Because it doesn't matter how good the technology is, if you are not confident that it's not going to be compromised, if you're not confident in the reliability of it, if you're not confident that the data is secure, especially when you're dealing with employee data, then the functionality of the technology doesn't matter. So that's why everything that we do, first and foremost, has a security approach. And the Microsoft technology really enables us to do so. And as we're looking at each implementation and project, we can take an agile approach to the best way to implement that technology so that your users can get can start making use of that good technology and the new functionality as quickly as possible. And for well over a decade, we've been implementing these solutions in local government, public sector, tribal government organizations, so we can bring that expertise of the industries and of what impacts and the priorities and things that matter organizations like yourself, along with our expertise of the technology, to help you develop and securely apply the technology in a way that will meet the unique needs of each organization. And we really are the industry experts working with the not-for-profit and public sector, and to the point that we hire and we ensure that we hire the best and brightest consultants in the area. We even have on staff a Dynamics Most Valuable Personnel, an MVP, where that is an honor given by very few people from Microsoft that allows us, our people, to even train Microsoft themselves on their own technology, because we know it more than most people. We know it more in depth than most people at Microsoft does. Then we could take that technology and our experience with it and help our customers make the best of that. And we are proud to be a federally certified Alaska Native Corporation as a subsidiary of the Doyan Alaska Native Corporation. We're very proud of our Alaska Native roots, and we're excited and happy to be able to take that lineage and that culture and help it enable us to do the best work we can for our shareholders. And all of that work is built on top of the solid foundation provided by Microsoft. The versatility, productivity, dependability, everything of the world's largest software company of Microsoft, with our industry expertise to make the best of those solutions for our customers. And then bringing alongside our partners at Sparkrock, where they're taking that expertise and that depth of functionality by Microsoft a step further to build on top of that to provide the software to meet the unique needs of public sectors and nonprofits. And then they've been focused on those markets for well over a decade. So the Sparkrock expertise, along with the Arctic IT expertise on that solid foundation of Microsoft, truly enables this to be the Sparkrock solution, to be the best breed solution for the state and local and not-for-profit organizations. But when you're talking about technology and you're taking a step back and saying what sort of needs do we have that are driving us towards modernization of technology, we time and time again see these sorts of issues with legacy software that are truly holding organizations back. In order to meet the needs of our constituents, our members, those that we serve in our organization, we always have different teams throughout our organization. That's just a natural part of how we do business. But the problem is those teams have become siloed. Each team needs its own little piece of software to handle the unique programs or things that they are offering, and in that they get siloed off. But you're dealing with a lot of the same customers, the same constituents, members, guests, whoever that you are serving, and that so their data gets duplicated throughout. You're tracking a lot of the same stuff, but in your own siloed systems, and so that data not only is duplicated in multiple areas, but it gets out of date. Just the idea of tracking the most accurate, most current address for a certain individual that is working with the different programs of our government not-for-profit agency is oftentimes a lot harder than we feel like it should be, and that involves and leads to a lot of manual processes where we're double checking in manually multiple systems for the most accurate data. We really don't get that single source of truth, and in that we end up with paper processes going all over, paper forms that have to be filled out, so it's easy for us to maybe get that from one person to another and store that so we feel some security as far as being able to go back and find that form someplace. And that just leads to insufficient tracking, not knowing what that employee is doing in the various areas of the organization, or where the data is that we need for servicing the members that we're talking with. And that all leads to security issues. You got the same data in multiple places, oftentimes being exported to Excel and saved in various spots, so we can't control where that data goes. We can't, and then in today's environment where we need to be able to access this stuff on the go, maybe working from home for health reasons, all that stuff, how do we securely access that and control that data? Especially when we're dealing with that PII information that is so prevalent in the HR and payroll world, that it can lead to security issues, not only of data, but how do we give secure access to all of this information when we have to work from various places, sometimes on a day-to-day basis. And that's where you have to really look at what's next. And what's next throughout the world of technology is a cloud-based system. Our older solutions are typically installed on servers in your own environment, and there's something to be said about being able to go and put your hand on the server where your data is stored and say, yep, this is where my employee information is. And but that reduces the security, the backup, and the disaster recovery potential, and the ability to use that and enable business productivity regardless of where you are. And that also means that you're vulnerable to those site-related issues. If power goes down, at your offices, well, then now you've got no ability to do your work, right? And the redundancy of that, being able to back that up routinely, securely, efficiently, and test those backups and store those in geographically separated locations, so that if there's a fire, if there are major catastrophes to the facility itself, that you still have access to those systems and that data redundantly across multiple areas. and in order to be able to work on the go or from home in the case of a pandemic, you have to remote in or have VPN access all the time, which is just a lot of overhead for IT departments to manage. Um, and that means you're constantly transferring data between your computer and the computer at and the servers at the office, which slows things down, increases support, and just again has more and more data security risks. Or with a cloud system, uh, it really takes that business continuity to a new level. Like for a long time, when you've heard the term business continuity from an IT perspective, people have thought about, well, how is my data backed up? Where are those backups stored? If something happens and we were the victim of a cybersecurity attack, how could we restore that data and get access to it? And all those things are still very, very pertinent and important, and things that cloud systems help protect and secure across the board. But business continuity now also means, how do we enable a remote workforce and empower a remote workforce to be able to work from the office one day, from home from another day, because we don't know what's going to hit. Right, this pandemic has frequently been said, an unprecedented time. Well, the fact is, it is no longer unprecedented. The precedent has been set, and we need, as an organization, as a business, as a government, we need to be able to ensure that when something like this happens again, that we've got the technology in place so that we can continue to do business effectively, serve our members, serve our constituents effectively, and serve our employees effectively, regardless of what happens. And really, a lot of that comes down to more and more folks are seeing the benefit of moving to a cloud system from a security and business continuity perspective. And that's one reason why we are so excited about the Microsoft Dynamics 365 platform. Microsoft loves the product naming and everything, but the Dynamics 365 name has stuck around for a while. We're excited about that. You may have heard about that and not know what that means. And truly, that is the brand name for the cloud business applications that Microsoft has. So those cloud-based CRM, ERP, financial, HR type functions, from sales and marketing, customer service, finance, supply chain management, retail, e-commerce, HR, payroll, all these things that are typically different solutions or are a part of different products are now kind of unified under the Dynamics 365 platform as different applications. So it's one platform, which means that between those, if you have the security to do so, there's a shared data model or a common data model. So if you have an employee in one system, that employee record can be available in any of those Dynamics 365 applications where that data is needed, and for those users that have security access to be able to access that data, right? All built on top of the Microsoft Azure platform, which provides the best-in-class cloud security on the market. But beyond those applications that are already there, we see that wheel with the different applications that are part of the Dynamics 365 world. But part of the Microsoft Cloud Services are tools that you're probably starting to hear about now, especially Power BI. But the Power Platform, as Microsoft calls it, gives users the ability to create additional powerful functionality, whether those are deeply insightful dashboards and reports in Power BI. Power Automate allows you to create workflows that extend outside of the system. We're kind of used to software being able to have a workflow inside an individual application, but with Power Automate, you can connect workflows from email through Excel and other Office products into different systems that you might be using, and then into Dynamics 365 to give your organization an organization-wide workflow capability, interacting with multiple systems, but being able to help control, validate, and secure that process throughout. So to break down those data silos, to help eliminate user error and those manual processes that permeate so much of our lives throughout our daily business. And then Power Apps, the ability to, without writing a single line of code, create extended functionality for Dynamics 365 applications as a Power App that we can use on our phone for submitting requests, submitting workflows, entering in different types of data, and creating new functionality without having to write a single line of code. And all supported by that common data service and hundreds of connectors and gateways available for connecting into other systems. And as I mentioned earlier, this Dynamics 365 is more than a product name. It's the fact that it is part of the Microsoft Cloud ecosystem. So it's built on top of the Microsoft Azure Cloud, uh, which is, as this past year, the leading cloud provider in revenue in the world. And it is security first and completely certified and tested. Microsoft spends billions a year on their cybersecurity. They run one of the largest cyber criminal um, task forces in the world, working with different government agencies and everything to not only understand how hackers are operating and how to prevent that, but to catch those and actually work to get them extradited from where they are and arrested and prosecuted and everything is to the greatest extent possible, because Microsoft knows that the cybersecurity is impacts the world in which we live on a minute by minute basis. And being on that platform ensures that you're always on the latest and greatest technology, and you don't have to worry about, oh man, what if we run out of storage? Do we need to get new servers? Are servers out of life? Do we need to upgrade those servers coming forward? Or even worse is the idea of going out and making huge capital expenditures to get lots of fancy new servers and great internal infrastructure, but then only using a portion of that, and therefore paying for a lot more than you need. And so with a subscription service of Azure platform, you're only paying for what you need, so you never have wasted resources, and you're not worrying about the large capital expenditures, and all of that moves to an operational subscription service on a monthly basis. And then being able to connect to all these other tools and applications, as we talked about, through that integration platform, all fully connected with the Office 365, Microsoft 365, your modern workplace type environments with Outlook and Exchange and emails, and being able to interact with your data securely and encrypt it right inside of Excel for publishing updates and journal entries or changes to employee records, all that stuff for those that are authorized to do so, because it's just the power of the collaboration platform of Office 365 fully tied into the Dynamics 365 platform. But as part of those D365 applications, one of those core application sets are the financial and payroll systems, the ERP solutions in Dynamics 365. And one of those solutions is Dynamics 365 Business Central. It's one of the latest ERPs that financial systems that Microsoft offers. And it comes with some of the great success that they had previously achieved in Dynamics NAV, that has been completely modernized, redesigned, and deployed with lots of new functionality as Dynamics 365 Business Central in the Microsoft Cloud. Gives great financials, analytics, distributions, everything that you want in a core accounting platform. But what is missing from that is a lot of the core functionality needed for a education, nonprofit, public sector, the tribal government, for that fund accounting and a lot of other core functions, as well as bringing a full suite of the HCM workforce management, payroll, timekeeping functionality that Dynamics 365 Business Central does not have. And so in looking for that functionality, because it is so prevalent and necessary in our customer base, we're so excited to partner with Sparkrock. Sparkrock, you're creating the Sparkrock 365 platform to really build on top of and enhance and bring so much more to the D365 platform with Business Central. They've developed that through Sparkrock 365. And with that, again, I'm very proud to introduce Sheri Hashimoto, again from Sparkrock, who is here to help showcase and give us a sneak peek as what makes the human capital management side of Sparkrock 365 such a great fit for our customers. So with that, Sheri, welcome. Thank you for being here today, and looking forward to seeing Sparkrock 365 in action.
Well, thank you, Matt, and hello, everybody from the greater Seattle area. I'm Sheri Hashimoto, and I just want to start off by saying I will just have 3 slides before we jump into the actual product. So starting out last week, we did a webinar that was focused mainly on financials, and what I wanted to emphasize here is the advantages of having both areas offered to you in a single platform. and being fully integrated. So most of our customers, they were using multiple systems and spreadsheets and other things, and we helped replace them as they didn't really communicate well with one another. And we also got rid of what Matt mentioned before, some of those redundancies, right? Dual entry, sometimes triple entry. And with that happening, a lot of times those systems just got out of sync, right? And you didn't know where to go for the right information. So here's some examples how having one system can eliminate that. Once an employee is hired, they would be able to submit expense claims to the appropriate fund or program. Or from payroll administration here, the employee garnishments or taxes, they can use workflow to automatically flow to pay accounts payable to ensure that the appropriate parties and vendors are getting paid. And again, knowing where those dollars are going. Or using time entry, your employee's time can be allocated to the appropriate fund or project. And again, ensuring an up-to-date view is always provided for that budget monitoring. And then from a financials perspective, being able to drill all the way down to even the employee level detail when they're doing their research or reconciling. And it's a huge time saver for both departments. So Sparkrock is what I call device agnostic, meaning it can be run on any device at any time. And as you can see from the mobile phone samples, it's optimized for easier navigation and for me, easier readability, right? So this remote capability is how many of us are now working anyway. But looking ahead, being able to respond while you're on the go, whether it's at another location or commuting, or even while you're waiting in the dentist's office, it's really a must-have nowadays. And we want to provide you with a full platform that you can grow into and with as well. Make sense? Okay. So these are just some of the goals that we want for our customers. And the following items are some of the main product areas where our customers have benefited and been able to realize them. So the first one is position management and workflow. And Sparkrock is a position-based product. And what that means is that it allows you to set up a variety of rules and defaults associated with that position, such as location, department, how many FTEs are budgeted, who their report to manager position will be, what step in grade and pay progression can be assigned. Even if you use the scheduling, what schedule they'll be assigned, and even determining benefits eligibility. And then when you combine that with workflows, you can automatically trigger all those to-do tasks that are associated with hiring someone into this position. For example, like notifying IT that system access needs to be done, or notifying the office manager that an access card is needed, or even letting that new employee know that they need to sign up for some mandatory training, along with providing them an embedded link right in that notification to take them right there so they can immediately register for that class. Next are HR requests. So how many of you have ever heard or even used a personnel action form or some kind of change form? Okay. Now they may be called something slightly different, and it might still be on paper, or you may have moved it online to a Word document. But I'm pretty sure they're still well used in practically all organizations, right? And then once you finish that information or that change information for that employee, where does it go? Okay. Does it go in a filing cabinet in someone's office? Or does it go on an online file somewhere? And if it does, how can you ensure security for things like HIPAA, I-9s, or even disciplinary actions? And again, being able to take those requests and automatically trigger workflows with those HR actions for things such as approvals, notifications, schedule changes, and eligibility, we continue that automation streamlining of your processes, coming back around again to improving your efficiency. And then to further that transformation journey for you as an employee and manager self-service, You know, this really is just expected nowadays because your users are a whole lot more comfortable and savvy with technology. And it's because our mobile phones have really gotten us there, right? Self-service just really reduces all those calls, all the emails, and even the sticky notes that are sent to managers in HR like, what was my pay last month? Can I have the day off after Thanksgiving? What are my vacation hours? Oh, hey, when am I working next week? So we'll take a look at providing your employees with the tools that enable them to help themselves and reduce that amount of administration that's spent by your managers in HR. And then last but not least, before we hop into the product demo, is reporting. Now, we offer all the standard reports like your 940, 941s, your ACA report, or your 1095-C reports, W-2s, etc. But what truly makes our HR customers excited about this product are the BI-based analytic reports that you can have right out of the box. All right. So give me just a sec to move over to our application. Okay, so this is a dashboard example of what would be used by someone like an HR manager that has full access. And right off the bat, most folks' eyes are drawn to the graphic over here and these tiles, which is great because this is telling you the health of your department or organization at a glance. Okay, we want to provide you with an interactive view containing what's most important to you. Now, each of your users is able to personalize their own dashboard view without impacting anybody else's dashboard view. For example, I may not want to see anything regarding payroll here because it's not applicable to me. So your user can come in and either hide or remove these tiles. And then remember when I said it was optimized for mobile? Well, you can immediately come up here and see how it appears on a tablet, and these views are interactive as well, or even on a mobile device. Okay, just as quick as that. If you look across the top of this HR manager's dashboard, you can see all the things which they're able to do and that they have access to. Now, this aqua line below it enables them to bookmark. These are quick links with which they can bookmark into this favorites bar. Now, some of that terminology should sound familiar, and that's because it's been designed to have a Microsoft-like look and feel with seamless integration to that Microsoft functionality built right in. And it's this similarity that promotes much quicker user adoption, and it decreases the time and effort to ramp up, which for some of our customers has provided them with an almost immediate ROI right out of the starting gate. And what do I mean by Microsoft out of the box? Well, here's a couple more examples. Up in the upper left-hand corner up here is what they call the Microsoft Waffle. Okay, and this gives you direct access to all your Office 365 applications right here in the product. Now, taking a look at email, and of course this is Microsoft email, but it can be any MAPI compliant email. This is a notification that I could have received on a mobile device, and with convenience and efficiency in mind, it contains a link directly into the HR product right from Outlook. And from here, I can process this, I can approve it, I can do whatever needs to be done, and then boom, now it's taken care of, I'm done, and I can go back on my merry way. Okay. In that same vein, as we move back to the HR Manager dashboard, you'll see Office 365 functionality throughout this application. So another example here is this FTE that shows me how many employees I have out there. If I click on it, I can see all the associated information that is represented by that number. And if for whatever reason I want to come out here and look at this information in Excel format, I can do that with just a couple clicks. And there you have it in Excel. And so you can do with it what you want. But the whole point is you don't have to have your employees on each of their devices download an add-in or an add-on because it's built right into the application itself. Okay, and it's this integration to access where it enables you to access tools which you're already familiar with, and there's that makes it so much easier. Okay, and then on the left-hand side here, let me just scooch this up just a little bit, is an interactive graphic representation of your FTEs as well. If you hover over, you can see how many are in each department. And then again, you can drill down into it to see the supporting detail of the employees that that number represents. Now, in addition to that, we can provide additional HR related views. So in this case, instead of the FTEs, I might want to see my turnovers each month. So here, if you hover over it, I can see here in August, there was a termination and 2 new hires. Over here in September, I had 6 new hires, and simply by clicking on it, I can take a look to see who those new hires were. Now from here, I can also go into the employee master if I wish, and that's a great segue into where HR spends a majority of their time, and that is in the employee master. So the HR employees is where you access your employee master information, and you can have this nice tile view, or if you prefer, you can turn it into a list. It's up to you. Regardless, let's go ahead and take a look at an employee master file sample, and here we have Sean. You can see his picture on the right, and over to the left is some general information, things to do with his name, even his preferred name of Mac. Okay, I can see that he's active. He's a lifeguard. Down below is some contact information, and administratively some key dates. So whether he's a current hire or we rehired him, I can keep track of that original date. Even if he moves from position to position, I can determine, what seniority date his time will be based on. And then here's some emergency contact information. But in addition to that, there is additional employee information that is associated with Sean. So any assignments, any additional position assignments he might have. If he wants an alternate address where he'd like to receive his mailings at a P.O. box, he can do that as well. And then any human resources related information, so all his appraisals, any professional association he belongs to. And then remember I mentioned, how do you keep confidential information that way? And if you secure this appropriately, people they won't even have this option on their menu, thereby making sure that his confidential information is kept that way. His benefits and even HR requests, all those changes are associated. And the point here is that anything and everything to do with your employee, compensation, payroll, etc., is all here in one place. And you'll notice too that throughout you can attach the documentation that accompanies the different parts of his information. Okay, so going back to the dashboard. Now, remember I mentioned the personnel action form right here, and here we call them the HR requests, and this really is a prime example of how we can help you digitally transform and automate that entire process, okay? Because there are a lot of things that go hand in hand, and in looking at this full list, these are just some samples of what can be done, like hiring, rehiring somebody, transferring them, putting them on leave, and if they return full-time or gradually, you can do that as well. COLA increases, even one-time pays. These are all changes that are associated with your employees. So let's take a look at a new hire. Once you incorporate all the additional information and once it is processed to be submitted, I want to draw your attention over here to the right-hand side, because this brings up a list of that workflow. that I mentioned where you can automate the process. So once this triggers the system to create an employee record, it'll go out there and create the company email address based on whatever format you've set up. It'll automatically insert them into a union if that position, if this is associated with that particular position that they're in. And it can also assign, miscellaneous articles like the key card or like a credit card, and an attendance plan if you have them, and also even assigning based on that position their first year entitlements or accruals. But you get the picture. This is the ability to make all those processes automatic. And the bane of my existence when I was in HR were transfers. And transfers from one position to another, or whether you're going from part-time to full-time, what if you need to remember to remove them from a schedule, have the system do it, and then add them to the appropriate schedule so that they're there for staffing. And other things when they change, again, is that new position they might be transferring into, does it have different qualifications that might require training that they need to do? So you can have that automatically incorporated as well. Even recalculating their seniority. How are you going to do that? Are the hours going to carry over? Are they going to start anew? So the point here is that you want to optimize all those changes in one place and also have it for a change associated with the actual employee, which is where it should be, right? And it can be that information can be easily accessed by your users with the appropriate security role, of course, and it's when they need it and all in one place. All right. So speaking of qualifications and going back to this dashboard, you'll see that I have some HR action requests, but also what I wanted to be notified is of any expiring qualifications for my employees out there. And the benefit here is that you're able to keep compliant and requirements such as ensuring that snowplow driver has a valid license before he or she jumps into it, or that your rec employees are up to date with their CPR certifications. But anyway, being proactive about minimizing your liability and maintaining your compliance. This is what this is all about. Okay, but what about the actual employees whose qualifications are expiring? What can they see and how could they resolve it? So let's take a quick look at self-service. And you'll know right off the bat that this is a much more simplified look and feel for your regular employees, unlike with the HR manager dashboard, right? And employees, and like anybody else, they really just want to see what's important to them. And the number one thing that's important to every single employee is looking at their pay. So here's how they can easily access that information, bring up all the details depending on what it was. But just being able to push that request and let your employees help themselves is a great time saver. Now, the next number 2 question out there from your employees is, how much time off do I have? So I can come out here and see that, oh, look, I have 70 hours. But if I click on it, it does a nice translation into letting me know that I have a little over 9 days. If I want additional detail, I can see that if there's any pending vacation, how this balance came to be. But right here in the upper right-hand corner, I can also initiate a new time off request that will go to my manager. And then remember, we were talking about qualifications. How do I know? Allow your employees to self-monitor. So here I can see out of my 5 qualifications, I have one that's expiring, and oh, oops, I have one that's expired. So I can come out here, see it's my CPR certification, but also there are 2 training sessions available coming up. So I need to sign up for one of those. I can click open one of those training sessions, see when it's being held, see where it's being held. And if you need to, you can even supply more information for that employee, maybe like a syllabus or a description of the course. And then over in the upper right here on the request, I can immediately send off and initiate a request for this class that will then probably flow to my manager for approval. And I can see I have a couple of classes that I'm already registered for asbestos training for whatever reason. And then, oh, look, I've already submitted a request for CPR training and it's pending approval in my manager's inbox. Now, the nice thing about this is once the employee has successfully completed their training and they receive that passing grade, their profile can automatically be updated with these certifications. Okay, and that's important when it comes to staffing and filling an open shift because it might require these specific qualifications, right? So also, let's move on to time cards. This is pretty straightforward. And notice on the left-hand side how an employee can enter in any associated specific projects, programs, or funds, even funds that they've been assigned to. Again, all tying this back to being able to accurately track your costs. Now, going hand in hand with timesheets are schedules. You don't have to use the scheduling, but if you manage a community rec center like a pool and you have to staff it with certified lifeguards, or even just if you want your employees on a schedule or if you have different shifts, we have you covered. So here I can come in and see when I'm working, what hours I'm working, and where I'm working. Okay. Again, if you allow it, your employees can even swap shifts with approvals, of course. Speaking of approvals, going under manager self-service, a manager can see their own team, who reports to them, and if they click on an employee, they can even see some basic information, and you'll notice how it's pared down and emergency contact information. So your managers can do things like appraisals, approve those time off requests, and timesheet approvals as well. Now remember, we were just looking at the scheduling and what it looked like from an employee's point of view. Well, here from a manager's perspective, they'll be able to better meet any staffing requirements that are needed. And in this example, you're able to see who's scheduled for what day. And then again, your attention is drawn to not only the vacant shifts that you need to fill, but also any possible staffing errors. Okay, scheduling errors. And if you click on it, it gives you a nice explanation of what is wrong. So this shift exceeds the maximum daily hours specified. So here I see Sean is a lifeguard and I see he's scheduled for 9 hours, okay, not the 7. So you can come in here, your managers can come in here, make the correction quickly, and you'll see it, the warning goes away, and boom, they're done. So no more warning. Now, as for the shift vacancies right here, okay, if you're a new manager or maybe you have a lot of employees in your department, it's really difficult sometimes to remember who can do what, right? So again, letting the system show your managers who's qualified to fill that vacancy not only saves them time, but also ensures that you're correctly staffed and compliant. So in this case, Maria, it's a 5-hour shift. It'll give her possibly 38, but here Ramon only has 5 hours and we'll have 5 hours. So whether it's based on how many hours they have or maybe seniority, you can determine how you want to assign. So maybe we'll give it to Ramon, right? And just go ahead and assign him. Or you can have them both out there and put it up for bid. And depending on whether it's seniority or first come, first serve, it's up to you how you want to manage that. Okay. So that is both employee self-service and manager self-service in a nutshell. But I hope you've just been able to see how you can provide your employees and your managers with the tools to access what's relevant to them. right? And simultaneously, you'll be able to decrease those time-consuming inquiries. Plus, in these COVID times, when we're all dispersed and distanced, it can also provide a greater sense of connection and cohesiveness within your organization. Okay, let's move on to the last topic, and that is reporting. So I'm going to go back into the manager dashboard. And again, we provide the standard reports like your 940, 941s, ACA, W-2s, etc. But as I scroll down here, this report inbox is where you can schedule your reports to run. So for example, maybe at the beginning of every month, you want to see an employee's birthday list, right? And that's pretty static information, but if you have information that changes constantly, well, as soon as you produce one of these reports, it's pretty much out of date, right? Just like any, but you saw in real time how you can keep track of pieces of information and surface it to your dashboard. But there's more. So let's take a look at some additional Power BI reports that you can have as well. Oh, this one is to do with finance. So let's go ahead and click on one that is more HR oriented. Here's a report that shows me all my employees in the upper left, but for a specific position, this is showing me who has that position and the total amount of FTEs. So you can go along here and click on each of the different positions and it'll dynamically change. Now, it's not as colorful, but what this is showing you at a base level is instead of me having to go out there, create a report that has all these pieces of information, including the active FTEs, downloading it into a spreadsheet, sorting it, and producing it, it only just took me a couple clicks to find out what I needed. And what about attendance issues? Okay, so we've taken some of the key points, and the bane of a lot of HR departments is, this can pinpoint in time. It'll show you employee absences. The darker colors indicate, where there's a higher absence rate, and it dynamically changes the information to go with where you're focused. Supposedly, after post Super Bowl, you suspect you might have had more absences on Monday, or you have that Monday-Friday absence problem and the spikes. Okay. And how many hours, and who are your biggest offenders? Okay. You can draw on that information. But taking it a bit further, if you're using schedules, on this analysis view, what type of absences are happening? Okay. And what's the impact of something like COVID having on your staffing and the ability to find replacements? Okay, so if you can even focus in on specific by school or by location, by category, but this is going to give you the average numbered days of absences. And again, you can click on these individual areas and it gives you a detail accordingly. But when you take all of this into consideration, you can even look to see how is it trending, okay? And how does it trend by the different locations? And the point here is that when it comes to making decisions based on your most current situation, this is where BI reporting has the ability to see trends comes in, and having access to this kind of organizational insight can really help you become more proactive when you're making those workforce decisions, right? And then being able to back up those what have been feelings or suspicions with actual data can now support your case if needed. Okay, so that was a really high level gander at our HR, but before I conclude the demo portion, for you HR and payroll folks out there who've ever had to provide information to finance, like I did during an audit, or even if they're just doing their normal reconciling, this is the drill down capability that I was talking about earlier. So allow me to just bring up a chart of accounts from the finance side. And you can see exactly what I mean as to how easy it would be for them to drill down to the employee level and get that information themselves. So let's take a look at the salary expense account. You can see, they can see how much they're budgeted, how much has been applied against it, and then their remaining budget, but they want to see the detail of what makes up, what are my expenses so far. So let's go ahead and find out here. Here's a salaried earning that I've highlighted. As your finance person moves across the page, they can see what's been charged, and if they have the appropriate security, can even drill down into the actual employee and the detail. You'll notice on the left-hand side, they can't change anything, right? But they're not interested in that anyway. They want to look at what makes up the expense and the appropriate detail. So again, going all the way down to the employee's paycheck and finding that detail for themselves is the beauty of having a fully integrated system. All right, so just to recap some of the key points, a lot of solutions out there are focused on widgets, right? And profitability of those widgets, manufacturing, buying, selling of those widgets, packaging, shipping, etc. And don't get me wrong, we can also accommodate the purchasing and even the selling of items, but the big difference here is where that money goes afterwards, right? Like to a fund or support a local project. So with that in mind, our customers were looking for a comprehensive product to help them manage the cost side of things. And a big part of that cost is the people side. So managing time and allocation of that cost and being able to see it in a meaningful and predictable way, because now they know exactly what's going on. And it gives them the insight into the true costs of their programs and services that they're offering. And what's really key to all that is their ability now to report back to their funders in an accurate and timely fashion, right? Now, I know firsthand how often public sector doesn't get the opportunity to upgrade a system, which is why our product gives you that leg up, long-term leg up, so to speak, with the advantages of Microsoft's technology and platform. Remember, they upgrade, we upgrade, and so you're kept much more up to date and relevant than ever before. Now, I hope in this brief time I've been able to show you some clear advantages of Sparkrock's focus on public sector, non-for-profits or non-profs, and education. Remember, okay, it's equally important that and equally important with that is Arctic IT's professional expertise, their assistance, and their deep experience that will help guide you on this journey to ensure your success. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Matt.
All right. Well, that was a wonderful presentation, Sheri. Thank you so much for guiding us through the application so folks can really see the value of the Sparkrock 365 solution that they can bring to the people side of the organization. So with that today, again, we thank you all for joining us. We hope this has been an insightful presentation for you. And we'd at this time like to open the floor for any questions that folks might have that we can answer with the last few minutes today. If so, type them into the chat panel in the GoToMeeting, and Brooke and team there will be able to relay those to us if you have any to answer.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It was really great. I have one question here. Do I need to have two licenses to use Sparkrock and D365 BC together?
That's go ahead,
yeah,
Jed.
Yeah, no, nope. It's a single unified license. So it's a single unified license that covers both.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then let's see. How long does it take to implement the application?
Matt, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
I can take that one as the implementation partner here. I hate to use the word depends because saying it depends always seems a little bit like a cop out, but it truly does. That being said, when we're dealing with an implementation, Typically, if HR and payroll is involved, if we're just talking about the HR and payroll side of things, if finance was already implemented and those things, that obviously shrinks things down and could be anywhere from a 3 to 6 month process, depending upon the complexity of the organization and the amount of data that needs to bring over and those things. Just like on the finance side, if we're just focused on the finance side, it's a typical time frame. We have done it successfully in as short as 2 months before, but that 3 to 6 month time frame for one of those. So altogether, if it's HR, payroll, finance, the whole works, could be anywhere up to 9 months, but typically that 3 to 6 months is a good time frame for success.
Okay, thank you. Still looking here, and I'm not seeing any more questions yet, but looks like we're almost at the end of the hour.
Okay, well, wonderful. Well, for those of you that joined us last week for the financial side of the presentation, today for HR and payroll, thank you for investing your time with us. We hope it's been educational and informative for you, and we'd love to talk with you more about how Sparkrock and Dynamics 365 can really help you achieve your goals and priorities for technology here in the near future. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.